My name is Keturah. This is the story of how I, a humble woman of unknown origins, came to be the wife of the great patriarch Abraham and the mother of nations. I remember the day I first laid eyes on him as if it were yesterday. The desert sun beat down mercilessly as I drew water from the well, my daily chores as a maidservant never ending. Sweat trickled down my brow, and I paused to wipe it away, my gaze lifting from my work. That's when I saw him, a striking figure of a man, his beard flowing and silver, his eyes kind, but wise. He was surrounded by a caravan of herds and servants, clearly a man of great wealth and importance. But there was something more about him, an air of reverence and purpose that drew me in like a moth to a flame. He approached me at the well, his voice gentle as he asked for water. With shaking hands, I offered him a drink, our fingers brushing as he took the jug from me. I blushed at the contact, suddenly shy under his warm gaze. He thanked me, a twinkle in his eyes, and I felt my heart stir in a way it never had before. As quickly as he had appeared, he was gone again, continuing on his journey to lands unknown. But I could not shake the memory of our encounter, brief as it was. In the days and weeks that followed, I found my thoughts continuously drifting to the mysterious stranger, wondering if I would ever see him again. I did not even know his name, but I felt the imprint of his presence lingering upon my very soul. It was several moons later when I saw him once more. I was returning from the market, my basket laden with fruits and grains, when I spotted his unmistakable figure ahead. Breath catching in my throat, I considered turning back, suddenly overcome with nerves. But some invisible thread seemed to pull me forward, and before I knew it, I found myself standing before him again. Shalom, he greeted me, a warm smile spreading across his face as recognition dawned in his eyes. I remember you, from the well outside of town. I ducked my head, unexpectedly tongue-tied. Shalom. I returned the greeting quietly. I am surprised you remember me, sir. How could I forget such a comely lass? He chuckled good-naturedly. Tell me, what is your name? I am called Keturah, I replied shyly. The name meant incense, perfume, a fragrant aroma. I hoped its sweetness would be pleasing to him. Keturah, he repeated, as if tasting the name on his tongue. A beautiful name for a beautiful woman. I am Abraham, son of Terah. Abraham. The name echoed in my mind, seeming at once utterly right. A name that would mark the turning point of my life forevermore. Where are you headed? Keturah. Abraham inquired, nodding to my full basket. To my mistress's home. I explained. I am but a maidservant. A flash of sympathy shone in Abraham's eyes. A maidservant. But you have the bearing of a princess. I laughed at that, caught off guard by the compliment. You flatter me, sir. I assure you I am no princess, just a common girl, born of unknown parentage and beholden to others to survive. Abraham shook his head. You may not be a princess in man's eyes, but you are precious in the sight of the Lord. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. 1 Samuel 16 verse 7. Tears pricked my eyes at his words. No one had ever spoken to me in such a way, with such kindness and esteem. In that moment my heart was lost to him, this man who saw worth in even a lowly servant girl. Will I see you again? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Surprisingly bold. Abraham looked at me steadily. Something unreadable in his expression. If it is the Lord's will, then we shall surely meet again, Keturah. With a parting smile, he turned to go, leaving me breathless in his wake. And meet again we did. In the months that followed, Abraham would often visit the town well, seemingly making excuses to extend his stay and linger near me. We spoke of many things, his journeys, his faith in the one true God. He spoke with such conviction, such trust in the Almighty, that I found my own fledgling faith kindling in response. I learned that he was already married to a woman named Sarah, one of great beauty and status. A part of me despaired at this, knowing that I, a mere servant, could never compete with such a wife. But Abraham treated me with such tenderness, such respect, that I dared to hope that perhaps, in some small way, he returned my feelings. Then came the day when everything changed. Abraham sought me out, his expression graver than I had ever seen it. He took my hands in his calloused palms enveloping my own. "Keturah," he began solemnly, "the Lord has laid it upon my heart to take you as my wife, but only if you will have me. I know I am an old man, and you are yet a young maiden. I would understand if you decline." Shock stole my breath at his proposal. 1,000 questions swirled in my mind. What of Sarah? What would people say? How could I, a nobody, wed a man of such prominence? But gazing into Abraham's eyes, alight with earnest affection, I knew there was only one answer I could give. "Yes," I whispered, scarcely able to believe it. "Yes, Abraham, I will gladly be your wife." Joy broke across his face like the dawning sun. "Blessed be the name of the Lord," he declared, "for he has brought me a wife of noble character." Proverbs 31:10. And so we were wed. In a simple ceremony under the stars. I had no dowry to offer, no status or wealth, but Abraham looked at me as if I were the most precious treasure on earth. That night, as we consummated our marriage, he planted his seed within me. I will never forget the words he murmured against my skin. "I have loved you with an everlasting love, therefore I have continued my faithfulness to you." Jeremiah 31 verse 3. In the weeks and years that followed, my womb quickened with new life, bearing Abraham's 6 strong sons who would serve the Lord and continue the legacy of faith passed down from their father. With each child, Abraham would beam with pride and joyous awe. "Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the children of one's youth." Psalm 127 verse 3-4. Our firstborn was Zimran, whose name meant musician. From the very start, he was fascinated with sounds, always humming and tapping out rhythms on any surface he could find. I would often catch Abraham watching him with a wistful half smile, lost in thought, as if hearing echoes of a melody not yet written. Twin boys soon followed, Jokshan and Medan. Though birthed together, they were as different as day and night. Jokshan was a wild one, always getting into mischief with his gap-toothed grin. Medan, by contrast, was solemn and studious, his dark eyes taking in everything. Abraham would chuckle that the Lord had given us both spice and steadiness to keep life interesting. Our 4th son was Midian, whose name meant strife. He came into the world red-faced and screaming, and that fighting spirit never seemed to leave him. He was stubborn as a mule, but also fiercely protective of his family. I knew he would grow into a force to be reckoned with. Ishbak was our next blessing, a calm-natured boy who loved animals. He could often be found in the fields, communing with the sheep and cattle. Abraham would remark that Ishbak had a shepherd's heart, nurturing and patient. A righteous man regards the life of his animal. Proverbs 12 verse 10. Finally, Shua arrived, our baby. From the first, he had an uncanny ability to bring laughter and joy wherever he went. Even when exhausted from mothering 6 rambunctious boys, I could not help but smile at Shua's antics and bright babbling. Abraham and I knew he would have the gift of bringing light to others. Through the challenges and delights of raising our sons, Abraham was a steadfast partner. He led our growing family with wisdom, teaching the boys to revere the Lord, work hard, and treat all people with compassion. He made me feel cherished and honored, even as the lines around his eyes deepened and his hair grayed to silver. As the years passed, I sometimes couldn't help but wonder about Sarah. Abraham rarely spoke of her, and I did not press, sensing old grief there. But I knew she had been his first love, the wife of his youth. Occasional whispers reached my ears that I was merely the concubine, the second best, the wife he took out of necessity rather than choice. Doubt plagued me in the quiet moments. Did Abraham's heart truly belong to me, or was I simply a replacement for what he had lost? But then Abraham would look at me with that tender smile, pull me close and remind me that I was his beloved. Many waters cannot quench love. Rivers cannot sweep it away. Song of Songs 8 verse 7. And I would tuck away those fears, secure in the haven of his steadfast devotion. Still, I was not prepared for the day when a strange woman appeared at our tent. She introduced herself as Hagar, Sarah's former handmaiden.